Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the broadcast today as Afghan refugees are coming to Nevada. We have Carina Black join us. She's Executive Director of the Northern Nevada International Center, here for the whole show on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
Hello, is this D&D Roofing?
Yes, it is. How may I help you?
You did such a great job on my roof. May I speak to the owner?
I am an owner.
Oh, can I speak to your supervisor?
Sure.
How may I help you?
I love your work. May I speak to the owner?
I am an owner. We're all owners. Well, that's why at D&D we work so hard to keep your home safe and sound.
Oh, no wonder.
D&D Roofing and Sheet Metal. Local, employee-owned, here for you.
Retail's impact on Nevada's economy? Enormous. 8,600 businesses, large and small, employing 145,000 workers. And last fiscal year, retail paid tax on nearly $60 billion in sales. We're the Retail Association of Nevada. We support retail, we help it grow, and we mean business.
RANNV.org.
Pro Group Management specializes in providing industries with the necessary components to satisfy and exceed workers' comp requirements. Every business has unique needs and specific regulations. Pro Group Management stays ahead of the curve, providing up-to-date services to keep your industry in top form. Discover how we simplify your tasks, improve efficiency, and reduce expense to keep you moving in a positive direction. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Truck drivers are some of the hardest working people you'll meet, delivering over 70% of America's freight and 92% of Nevada's. When there's a natural disaster, they're delivering critical supplies to help those communities recover and rebuild. Every sector of the economy and our nation's military rely on truck drivers. So let's take a moment to say thank you. On the open road or city streets, our truck drivers are rolling to make our economy and our nation stronger. Trucking moves America forward.
Nevada Newsmakers Studio is located at the headquarters of the Nevada Trucking Association. Motion and purpose are a truck's greatest virtue.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we are always pleased to welcome back to the program Carina Black. She heads up the Northern Nevada International Center. Pleasure to have you back.
Thanks for having me.
So let's start out with Afghan refugees. The president has made it clear that they are welcome. The governor of our state has made it clear that they are welcome. What's the latest that you can share with us?
Sure. So as many people have heard, 53,000 people were evacuated from Afghanistan who now are waiting in 8 U.S. military bases. And they are they're going to be able to seek asylum in the United States. As of today, they are starting to release about 4,000 individuals to different communities. And in Nevada, we have agreed to resettle 150 individuals, 50 in Las Vegas and 100 here in Northern Nevada.
That's quite a lot by comparison with other groups.
It's about, I mean, there are some states like Texas and California who are going to be accepting thousands, but...
Right, but I mean just in general for what we, because sometimes you and I have talked in the past and it's been 2 or 3 families.
Right.
And so 100 families is...
We're definitely ramping up. We're putting our infrastructure in place, and we've been receiving a lot of support from our community. We've had people offer housing. We had a family say, "Oh, we know we're not living in our house, so we're just going to let you have it until we come back." We've had a number of people just offer in-law quarters, and people are really stepping up. It's been amazing to see our community being so receptive.
Were you surprised, as I was, that over the last, and I don't want you to get political on this, I'm just talking about, you know, as a person reading the news, you know, for the last several years we've heard 2,500, 3,500 troops in Afghanistan. Was it as much a shock to you as it was to me that suddenly we evacuate 135,000 people out of Afghanistan and there's 100,000 more that need to be evacuated?
Right. I don't think I was so surprised because we have been in Afghanistan for a long time and we've established a network of support systems. We've offered people chances to study, especially women and girls. So the individuals that are waiting and the evacuees are a very varied type of people. They are either government officials who were working towards more freedom and more opportunity. They are women at risk. They are people who did support our U.S. military in many different ways, but they just didn't get to do the process of requesting special immigrant visa status or SIV status. So many of the people that we are actually talking to are people who had very strong connections to the U.S. government. And I'm getting emails and letters every day with people who are providing us with all this documentation from U.S. military presence over the last 20 years. So I think when you're in a country for that long, you build a lot of connections. So I wasn't really that surprised.
So, you know, and this is just conjecture, but people talk about the United States presence in South Korea, in Germany, Japan. We really don't have a clue, really, how many thousands and thousands of people are connected then by that same token. It's so much greater than just the troops themselves. One of the things I found very heartwarming was that Vietnamese refugees were stepping up in a major league way to help these Afghans because they saw a duplication of what happened to them in the 70s when the United States left Vietnam, and the help that they received, and in some cases the lack of help that they received, and they're stepping up to make sure that the Afghans get a warm welcome.
Yeah, I've always looked for the numbers of how many Vietnamese refugees actually were resettled in northern Nevada, and I haven't found it. So the official resettlement program wasn't started until 1980, so Vietnam, and it was because of the Vietnamese refugees. I believe in Las Vegas they resettled a pretty significant number of Vietnamese. Here in northern Nevada, we've had a few phone calls from people who said, you know, we are grateful for what this country did for us, but it's by a large majority it's been people from different kinds of churches and just the broader community who's offering their support.
You know what will be interesting to see, and you know, I can only hope that this happens, and I have a funny feeling you feel the same way, is that the Vietnamese community that came here were incredibly productive. They saw this as a great opportunity. They either worked hard manual labor to get where they needed to get to, or they opened businesses. They were a real benefit to the United States, and I think that one is going to see the same thing happening with the Afghan refugees that are coming here too, that they will realize the opportunity of this country and take advantage of it. And I wonder if that will move the public and members of Congress to do something about immigration reform. And you know, over the years, and you and I have talked about this in the past because we've been talking for a long time on this program, you know, I don't think comprehensive immigration reform is the way to go. And the reason I say that is we keep butting heads over everything and nothing gets done. Last time something big happened, 1986. It's been 35 years. Do you think, are you optimistic that we could see a change of hearts and minds in Congress to where we could start seeing certain things done, especially when you look at the need? And we can get to the need in a moment, but your thoughts?
Well, okay, on the Afghans, we've already resettled a number of Afghan SIVs over the last 5 years.
What's SIV?
Sorry, the Special Immigrant Visa holders. Those are the Afghans who assisted U.S. military. And they are so happy and so productive. They are working in companies like Tesla. They're working for the Reno Transportation Commission. it's very easy for them to integrate, especially because they already know U.S. culture, how U.S. businesses run. They know English. So I think this invitation of helping or of offering jobs is really what this country is built on. We are a nation of immigrants, and I know I've said this on this program many times.
It's fine, keep saying it.
Because we have jobs in this community that some people won't take, but there's a lot of jobs in the tourism industry. There's jobs everywhere on all the different levels, and we have a job shortage. We have a labor shortage in this country, so we will do very well with offering certain populations a way to make it more easy for them. I personally happen to believe that dreamers are one of those populations that require a path to being documented in this country. And I think I would argue that there are many different populations that will make our country so much better, so much more productive. And in a capitalist system, you have to have more labor all the time.
Well, just over this past weekend, reading stories about the ports on the East Coast have just as many problems as the ports on the West Coast, with thousands of containers piling up. And what's the biggest issue? Not enough truck drivers. I mean, there's lots of issues, but that's one of the big ones. We record this program, thankfully, to our good friends at the Nevada Trucking Association. We know that all those companies could use thousands of drivers to move the goods across this country that we need. There just seems to be great opportunity, but I just think when you try to do it as a comprehensive, there are so many excuses to not do it. Yeah. Well, we'll do this, but we won't do that. Well, okay, fine. Let's find the areas where we can agree on. Oh yeah, we've got all these jobs, as you say, sitting there wide open and nobody to fill them for a multitude of reasons. Mm-hmm. Well, there's a lot of people, I don't even know if you know this, but I was born and raised in London, England. So I spent the first 21 years of my life there. When I was a kid growing up, they didn't have enough bus drivers, they didn't have enough nurses, so they went out to all the Caribbean countries and imported people from those Caribbean countries, recruited them to come work in England. Yes, of course, it turned into a big racial thing in 1968 with Enoch Powell and the Rivers of Blood that never occurred. But when you have a need and you have an opportunity to fulfill it, it doesn't make sense to me not to do that.
Right. I'm from Switzerland, and we imported, we meaning the Swiss government, imported people from Turkey and Italy in the 70s and 80s because they had such a labor shortage. And of course now Switzerland has one of the largest populations of immigrants from all over Europe and Eastern Europe. So I think movement of people and migration to seek better opportunity has always been part of humanity. And so when governments offer a system of rule of law where people can function and be happy and pursue what pretty much everyone wants, which is a good life for them and their families, then we have to assume that people will go take those opportunities.
All right, what can Nevadans, because this show is broadcast across the state of Nevada, so whether you're in Las Vegas or Reno or rural Nevada, what can Nevadans do to help you? And I'm presuming there is an organization like yours in Southern Nevada as well.
There are 3 resettlement agencies in Nevada. Catholic Charities and the Ethiopian Church are in Las Vegas. They have a long track record of resettling many, many more refugees than we have. And we are here in the north. We are obviously both in the north and the south. We have a huge housing shortage, and that's our biggest sort of hurdle to resettling a lot of people. We are looking for temporary housing. In Las Vegas, I heard that Southern Nevada University College is actually offering over 200 beds for the Afghan evacuees that are arriving. Here in the north, we don't, our university is full, so we don't have that luxury. But temporary housing, we have on our website, we have ways in which people can donate items for putting the stuff into homes for people to when they arrive.
And these are basic needs. I mean, pots and pans,
pots
plates,
and pans, beds,
bed sheets,
tables, couches. And so if you go on our website, you'll see the exact need for each family, because the system is quite structured. So we have to provide these services as a government program, and to make sure that all refugees are treated in a similar and egalitarian way.
You know, it's interesting, you know, for all the political fighting that we have in this country, and how ugly has gotten uglier over the years. It seems that it doesn't matter what your political stripe is, everybody's looking at the Afghan situation and going, we need to help.
Yeah.
And I think that says a lot about America, and the America we could get back to if we figure out that this is a good plan.
Resettlement is not an ideological issue. More over the 40 years that the program has existed, more refugees have been resettled under Republican administrations than under Democratic administrations. The United States has resettled more individuals than any country in the world, 3.5 million people since 1980. And they have integrated. There has not been any incidents of danger to the American public in 38 years. So I think it's a thing that works for everyone. And it's about U.S. global leadership. If the United States decides to reduce the number of refugees that they want to resettle, all the other countries will follow. When the United States dropped the presidential determination to fewer refugees, Canada did the same thing, the European countries did the same thing, Australians did the same thing. And the people who end up holding the bag is that 95% of all refugees remain in the poor countries of the world. So Congolese go to Kenya. Kenya has the largest resettlement camp in the world of 600,000 people, and they're threatening to shut it down. They are tired of really carrying the brunt of this work and this hosting of refugees. So we have to just step up a little bit so that we can show what global leadership looks like.
Yeah, and another country that has stepped up and I don't think gets nearly the credit is Jordan.
Yes.
It's an astonishing amount of refugees. Let's take a break. We have to make some money here to pay the bills. We'll be right back with Carina Black after this timeout.
Modern boutique Ahern Hotel and Events Center in Las Vegas. Host meetings and events on 2 floors. Stay in luxurious rooms and suites. Unlimited branding opportunities. Regional Italian cuisine by Chef Mark Segrisi. Flexible event spaces. Full buyout options. Visit ahernhotel.com today.
I'm Jeff Gehrman, an investigative reporter with the Las Vegas Review-Journal. I'm your guide for Season 2 of Mobbed Up, The Fight for Las Vegas.
You're in with every gangster and hoodlum in the United States.
I don't go for that, Mr. Kennedy. I don't go for that kind of action.
I was on television accused of fronting for the mob.
Subscribe to Mobbed Up, The Fight for Las Vegas, Season 2, today on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, Dad? Are you learning? This place is great.
Huh?
You gotta try this.
Wow, this stuff is great. People are gonna love it.
Yes. Yes, they will.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Carina Black. She is with the Northern Nevada International Center. Actually, she runs it, I should say. You were talking about the Ethiopian church in Las Vegas as being a resettlement. The Ethiopians have this incredible history, and one of the great stories was when the Ethiopian Jews were airlifted out of Ethiopia because they were being oppressed and taken to Israel. Do you have much info on that story? Because it's an incredible story.
I've heard quite a bit on that, and the resettlement efforts in Israel, which have been to some extent functioning, but not always perfectly. But no, it's a fascinating story on how Ethiopians are there's Christians, Jews, and it's unfortunate that again now they're running into so much conflict with their neighbor who used to be part of Ethiopia, but Eritreans who are now suffering just incredibly again. So.
You know how you can find out a lot about what's going on in Ethiopia and Eritrea is take a taxi in Washington, D.C.
Absolutely.
The population there is astonishing, and they love to talk about it. And when you say, I know where Ethiopia is or I know where Eritrea is, they're like, well, let's have a conversation.
Yeah.
All right, let's change topics here. So, the border situation obviously continues to be a mess, and that's putting it mildly. But it does point out that government is a giant ship, and it's incredibly difficult to turn that ship around once changes have been made. And so we're seeing in some ways a continuation of the previous administration into this administration. What are your thoughts on that? Give me the 2-minute version here.
I have been surprised that the current administration is really continuing many of the policies of the previous administration, which we had hoped would turn around. Based on international law, an individual can present themselves to another government at the border and seek asylum, and it is apparent that that is not happening, especially with Haitians and people from Central America who are clearly in danger, especially in Central America, in danger of violence from gangs and drugs, in Haiti from just sheer natural disasters and political incapacitation. So those of us in the field of humanitarian work are a little bit dismayed that this is just continuing under this administration.
But isn't part of it, and we're really running short of time, so you're always welcome back, but isn't part of the problem that government is huge bureaucracies, and so even when there's a change in government from Democrat to Republican or vice versa, that you can change what people say, but the actual bureaucracy doesn't change. You don't suddenly fire 1 million people working for Customs and Border Patrol and hire 1 million new people with a different political philosophy. It's too big to change around like that. Quick answer if you can.
Yes. I do believe that President Biden does have the power to make some policy change, and again, it is part of international human rights and international law that these people have a right to seek asylum in this country.
All right, let's take another break. We'll be right back.
Before the masks, before the distancing, before the world changed, UMC was ready. Our response to COVID-19 began before the crisis did, with our own team of infectious disease experts who've spent their careers planning for this moment. With a pandemic response plan, we'd practiced again and again, and by blazing new trails in large-scale testing, including every patient we admit. Always ready. UMC.
Hey guys, are you watching the game at a friend's or the bar again because you can't watch at home with your wife? Or worse, because she kicked you out and kept your couch, your flat screen, and your kids? What's the one thing a man needs when he loses a good woman? A good lawyer. And when he loses a bad woman, he needs a great lawyer. What makes a good woman a bad woman? You tell me. You're the one that can't watch the game in your own home. I'm men's rights attorney Marilyn York, and I represent men in divorce, custody, and family law matters.
Safety. We all think about it. You think about it when he buckles in, when you check your mirrors and put away your phone. RTC thinks about safety too. In fact, we create it. Center turn lanes mean fewer blind spots. Bike lanes keep cyclists and you safe. Roundabouts reduce injury collisions, and all these crosswalks are designed to keep families like yours safe. Safety is your priority, and it's ours too. Every day, in everything we do.
As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's development company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, continuing our conversation with Carina Black, who heads up the Northern Nevada International Center. So, isn't part of the problem just the sheer volume of people trying to come into the United States across the southern border? And it's not the biggest influx of people coming into the country either for asylum or, out of status. I mean, those are the ports of entry that are the biggest ones. But the sheer volume, isn't that the part of the problem?
And yes, that's absolutely the case. And they seem to come in different droves, so to say. So there's messages going into certain communities that maybe under this administration they'd hoped that the borders would open, and unfortunately that's not been the case.
And that's where we have to leave it. You're always welcome here anytime, Carina. Thank you so much for all you do.
Thank you for having me.
And we'll be right back. Brian Culpa Photography was born in the rolling hills of Massachusetts, and now he can help you experience the stunning beauty of Nevada in a whole new way through the power of flight. Flying has always been a passion for Brian, and at Brian Culpa Photography, he can make your imagination soar. Brian has the creative mind and tools to tell your unique story. Experience the bird's eye view at brianculpaphotography.com.
Hey, Dad? Are you learning? This place is great.
Huh?
You gotta try this.
Wow, this stuff is great. People are gonna love it.
Yes. Yes, they will.
As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's development company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com.
Take a look at Pro Group Management and see how your workers' comp requirements can be met head-on. By taking a proactive approach, Pro Group can assure that your company is meeting or exceeding state and federal standards. As you move forward in your industry, Pro Group moves with you, simplifying regulatory tasks, clearing the way so you can get the job done and look to your future success. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Watch Nevada Newsmakers on YouTube. You can do that now these days. We'll see you on the next broadcast.